because this week is Parshas Parah, so the regular Haftarah for this week has been displaced. The regular Haftarah Parshas Shemini. The regular Haftarah Parshas Shemini is an interesting Haftarah. It's a story about there were some battles between Bnei Yisrael and the Plishtim at that time, and during the course of one of the battles, the Aron was captured. Imagine the tragedy. For Klal Yisrael, the Aron, the Luchos are captured. Okay, but it didn't stay very long by Plishtim, because the Tanakh tells us every single city where the Aron went, people started dying. So every city kicked out the Aron to the next city, Finally, the Aron comes back. But for a while, the Aron was in storage, so to say. David Hamelech then becomes king, and at a certain point, David decides it's time to take the Aron and bring it up to Ir David, to Yerushalayim. And there's a whole ceremony with a lot of simcha, whole parade, and they're bringing the Aron. And the Aron is being transported on a agala. It's being transported on a carriage. At a certain point, the ox that was pulling the wagon slipped. The Aron started slipping out of the wagon. So there was a person there. His name was Uzzah, and he wanted to grab onto the Aron, to hold it to make it secure it. Yeah. And he immediately died. He was killed on the spot. And that was considered to be a punishment to Dovid. It was put a damper on the whole celebrations, and everything was put on hold, and the Aron was put back into storage. And it was only a little while later when the Aron was finally again taken and brought up to Yerushalayim. So the Gemara talks about it. Why was David punished that his celebration should be interrupted by the death of Uzzah? Now, obviously, I'm sure Uzzah also probably did something to deserve it. Abishai doesn't. Everything Abishai does is perfect, but why was David deserving of this? And the Gemara says it's because David forgot a simple halacha. And what is that simple halacha? The simple halacha is that the Aron has to be carried on the shoulders. Aron had its rods, the poles, that have to be carried on the shoulders. Because, as the pasuk says, "K'avedas hakodesh aleim b'kosef yiso," and the Aron has to be carried b'kosef on the shoulder. And because he forgot that, and he carried the Aron instead on a wagon, so that's why he was punished. No, that doesn't really answer the question. Why did David forget a simple halacha? So the Gemara says there's a reason for that also. What is the reason for that? In Tehillim, in Kapitel Kuf Yitaz, David Hamelech says over there, Zmireis hayu lichukacha beveis megurei. Which means David Hamelech, when he was talking about the Torah, he was waxing eloquent about the Torah, and he says that beveis megurei, when I was busy running away from Shaul, running for my life, and I was in the Judean desert, so what did I do to relieve my anxiety? What did I do when I needed to uplift my spirits? I would sit and learn Torah, and Torah was to me like Zmiris, was like a song. It was as pleasurable as a song. And Hashem turned to David and told him, David, Zmiris Kadishlo? David, you're calling my Torah Zmiris? You have the chutzpah to call my Torah a song? Chayecha, I swear to you that you are going to forget a halacha which even Tanekh shall be set and even little children know, which is they're supposed to carry the Aron on the shoulders. So that's why he forgot, and that's why he was punished. So we have your whole sequence of things, and we really have to make sense out of the whole thing. What was the problem with David calling Zmiris? Why was he punished with specifically forgetting this particular halacha? And it's just we know that Alter Rebbe tells us. We learned this. Actually, we didn't learn it. We're going to learn it, Mr. Hashem, in a few prakim. How the Reiv Seidus HaTorah, most of the secrets of the Torah are gnuz and are hidden in the Agada, are hidden in the Agada of the Gemara. This is an Agada where Emer Dersheni. What's going on over here? So there's a maimer about this in Tzemach Tzedek in Shirish in Derech Mitzvah. It's a maimer which is actually based on a Perek in Tanya in Kuntres Achron. But by the time we get there, in 2 years from now, everyone will have already forgotten what I've said, so I'm good. And he says like this. Let's analyze for a second. Let's analyze the luchas. The luchas, what was unique about the luchas is that, unlike a Sefer Torah, which a Sefer Torah has a pnimius and a chitzonius, a ponim and a acher. There's the front of the Torah where the words are written on it, and then there's the back. The luchas didn't have a panim and a acher, didn't have a front and a back. Because you know that there was a nest going on. It had a front and a front. It was engraved through and through.
Through and through, perforated.
And the Yerushalmi says even more than that. The Yerushalmi says not only through and through, but also all four sides or all six sides. Whichever side you looked at, it was engraved through and through, which obviously makes zero sense. Alpi tava, naturally speaking, for a variety of reasons. Try doing that. Try taking a block of rock and carving it through, and on each side you read it straight, because if you carve something through and through,
you see it
the other side's going to be backwards, but it was straight, and on all sides without interference. A big miracle. Fragt sich the Shaila, why did the Eibishter make this miracle? There's a joke about it was the month of Elul, and a bunch of terrorists they come into a shul and they take hostage the rabbi, the chazan, and the president, and they make a list of demands, and they say that if their demands aren't kept, they're shooting them all.
The what?
They're going to shoot them. If their demands aren't met, they're going to shoot them. The demands aren't met, so they're going to shoot them. But the terrorists, they turn to these three and they say, listen, sorry we have to do this, but we have to kill you, so do you have any last request? So the Rav says, yeah, I do. It's already in the month of Elul, and I already started preparing my Rosh Hashanah speech. I have an incredible, brilliant idea, 45-minute speech, complete with everything, and I can't die without giving the speech. I need to give that speech. Torah said, say that, okay. But first, they turn to the Chazan and say, what's your request? He said, over this past year, I've been working on a new rendition of the Kol Nidrei. Incredible, absolutely stunning. And if I'm not going to be around Kol Nidrei, I need to do it now. I need to do the Kol Nidrei now. So they turn to the president and say, no, and what's your last wish? And he says, shoot me first. In human nature, if someone has prepared, a chazan has prepared a kol nidrei, and then he's told, you're not chazan, you can't do it, it's about the shaksu. What? Zagmas nefesh. If you prepared a good dvar Torah, because you were going to somewhere and you thought that you were going to say dvar Torah, and you went and you prepared, and you're able to, and no one asked you to. Human beings like to show off what we have. But the Eibishter doesn't suffer from our insecurities. The Eibishter doesn't need to show off his miracles. There's a rule. Which means Hashem doesn't do miracles for no reason. He's not trying to show off, hey, you want to see what I can do? Check that out. Take a look at those luchas. Did you see? Engraved this way, engraved that way, engraved the other way. You probably didn't know I could do that, right? Eibishter doesn't...
He made the whole universe.
Sorry?
He made the whole universe.
He made the universe, and he made it with the laws of nature because he likes the laws of nature. And anytime a miracle happens, there's a reason why it happens. It's not stop. It's not stop. So why is it that the luchas were this way? So the Tzemach Tzedek explains that the reason why the luchas were this way is because we know Torah in general, as we just finished learning, Torah has the pnimius and the chitzonius. There's the panim and there's the acher of Torah. And as we learned, the Torah that we have is the chitzonius. And that's why, representing that in the Sefer Torah, there's the pnimius and there's the chitzonius. There's the front and there's the back. The luchas, on the other hand, the luchas represented that madrega of Torah, which is pure pnimius. It was the physical manifestation, as difficult as it is to imagine that and to understand, the physical manifestation of the pnimius of Hashem's chachma. And that's why it couldn't have a back. Because the whole point of it is it doesn't have chitzonius, it doesn't have lacharaim, it is Hashem's pnimius. And the Tzemach Tzedek explains that that's why there was according to the halacha is that the Kehanim, or the Leviim, who carried the Aron, they had to carry it panim keneged panim. They had 4 Kehanim carrying it. So usually when you have 4 people carrying it, at least 2 of them are not facing or have their backs towards it. But over here we had all 4 of them were facing it, to be miyachid, the panim of the people who are carrying it with the panim of the Torah.
So they're walking backwards?
At least two of them were walking backwards, which wasn't very easy. But then again, at the same time, we know that they weren't really, that the Aron carried
Yes.
its
It
carriers.
carries itself somehow.
Yeah,
Right.
I had to practice how to walk backwards.
Why would
Aron
they-
noisav.
Why would they be walking backwards? I mean,
To face the,
put 'em upon.
if you think about it, if you have four people, if you have the Aron, and four people carrying it, if they're all facing it, which way are they? Either they're walking backwards or sideways. Either they're all walking sideways, or two are walking forwards and two are walking backwards. There's no other way. Now, so without getting into it, it's a whole arichas in the Maimon over there. He explains why then they had to carry the Aron on the shoulders, because when we connect our pnimius to Hashem's pnimius, automatically our shoulders, which represent our chitzonius, also get dragged into that connection without going there. But that is the significance of the Aron, again, of the luchas only having panim and not an acher. Let's go back to Dovid HaMelech for a second. Dovid HaMelech, as we mentioned, he talks about the Torah and says, Zmires Heli Chukach. He calls it a song, which talks about the incredible pleasure that he has in Torah. What is the pleasure that he took in Torah? And why did he compare Dafka to a song of all things? There are many pleasurable things. Why Dafka to a song?
Correct. We have a song that affects the emotions of the person.
Okay.
And that's like the pneumius.
The emotions are the pneumius. Okay. So Masada gives a different beer.
Oh, all right. I just guessed.
He says, Dovid HaMelech, as we mentioned, he was in a bad place at that time. He's being chased
By show.
by a shoal. His life was in danger. I don't know how many 5-star hotels there were at that time in the desert where he was busy running around. I'm sure that life wasn't so
David
easy. So there wasn't David Hotel, right? And what did he do? When things were difficult, he'd open up a sefer, open up a Gemara, and start learning. And then what? How did that uplift him? David HaMelech would stop and he would think, I'm learning here about a halach, I'm learning here about a carbon. A carbon, here's the story. The kohen, the animal is shechted, and then the kohen has to receive the blood. The kohen does it properly, receives the blood properly. That causes a hashpah of Hashem's energy in all the worlds. And in fact, all the worlds are dependent upon that. And today we do that through davening. If, on the other hand, the kohen, instead of doing it right, does it wrong, let's say he accepts the blood instead of with his right hand, he accepts it with his left hand, boom, the world receives nothing. And the same thing is in every mitzvah that we do. You put up a mitzvah, you put up a mezuzah, the whole Seder Yishtal, the whole system of worlds is suffused with godliness. You put it up on the wrong door, or there's a letter missing in the mezuzah, nothing happens. In other words, the worlds, all the worlds are busy, are bottled and busy, waiting for a yid to do a mitzvah. So David says, I'm busy over here, I'm learning Torah. I should be worried about the small little things that are going on in the world. All the world, this world and all the worlds, receive their entire chayis, their entire hashpah, their entire everything from this thing that I'm learning, from this mitzvah that I'm learning about. Now, how can I be bothered by this world? And this gave David a tremendous amount of pleasure. Now you're going to say, but that's a pleasure, that's a repetitious pleasure, because every mitzvah is the exact same. Every mitzvah is about doing Hashem's ratzon and bringing Hashem's energy into the world. It's repetitious. So David HaMelech says, yes, it's repetitious, like a good song. Think about it. You ever had a song which you can't get out of your mind? You keep on humming it again and again and again, right? And the people around you are annoyed.
it's true.
But you're not annoyed because you're enjoying it. You're enjoying it. The hallmark of a good song is, when I say a good song, no such thing as a good song. I mean, It's a subjective experience. The hallmark of a song that you connect to, that you enjoy, you sing it again and again and again. And each time you enjoy it anew. You know, Chassidim, there were Chassidim when they would daven every day, the same songs, the exact same niggin. There was a certain song, one song, two songs, maybe three songs they connected to. And you can sing it again every day of your life. It gives you pleasure. It's different than lyrics of a song. Lyrics of a song. How many times can you read the lyrics? You know, when a kid is 4, they ask you to read them the same story again and again and again and again. They know it by heart. I'm not a child psychologist. I don't know why they want it, but it is.
It's a comfort.
But then it's a comfort. But then you grow up and like, I read this already. I read this already. I can read the same lyrics, but the lyrics you can't read, but the song you can sing again and again and again, and you get pleasure every single time. Dovid says, the Torah, every single time I learn Torah, it's the same thing. Every mitzvah I'm learning is the same thing. It's this is the Ratzon Hashem, the Ratzon Hashem, the Ratzon Hashem. But this is so beautiful and so pleasurable that the pleasure that I take in learning Torah, it overpowers everything and it uplifts me. Hashem comes to Dovid and says, David, Zmiris Karas Luhu. You're calling my Torah Zmiris. When you're busy sitting there and taking pleasure in the Torah and complimenting my Torah, is that the Pnimius of Torah or is that the Chitzonius of Torah? It's the Chitzonius of Torah. That part of Torah which enters the world and which gives life to the world, that's the Chitzonius of Torah. The Pnimius of Torah. Torah as it is in Hashem's Chachma. The Torah which, again, as we said earlier, Nelma Me'einei Kol Choy, which is only the Eibishter related. The worlds are nothing to it. It doesn't give energy to the world because it has no connection to the world. So how dare you compliment my Torah with its chitzonius? You know, if it was me, if it was Sasso, we'd probably be forgiven for that. But this is Dovid Hamelech. You know, you have a little kid, you go to a little kid and say, what's so great about your tati? And he said, oh, he gives me candies. Kid's 4 years old. Is that a problem? No. But if I'm to come to you and say, Sasso, and tell me, what was the greatness of your father? And you'd say, you know, the greatness of my father was, he gave me candies. Right? You need to get patch. That's disrespectful to your father. I mean, I don't know who your father was, but I'm sure that he was much greater than giving you candies. Dovid Hamelech should have realized that to praise Torah by the Chitzonius is like praising someone for giving candies. That's the Chitzonius.
We don't have access to the
And the Harami. So he should have been quiet. You can't praise Torah. He was shortchanging Torah. Says Hashem to him, and that's why, what are you going to forget? You're going to forget? What are you going to forget? The mitzvah of Masar and Bekotiv. That mitzvah which represents the idea that you have to carry the Aron face to face. That mitzvah which pays homage to the Pnimius of Torah.
Mida Keneged Mida.
Mida Keneged Mida, that's the mitzvah you're going to forget. And forgetting also is Mida Keneged Mida. Because where does forgetfulness come from? Forgetfulness also comes from Chitzonius. Something which is a Pnimiistic thing, you don't forget. For example, right? Reuven.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Okay, now, in a year from now, I might forget that.
Oh, I'm going to forget.
No, I might
Don't
forget
forget.
that. I mean, if someone comes to me in a year from now and says, Rabbi Silberberg, do you know what Reuven's favorite ice cream is? I'll probably have forgotten that. In a year from now, will you have forgotten what your favorite ice cream is?
No.
What's the chiluk?
You just got the. I have the Pnimius, you have the Chitzonius. So.
What I want, what I like, what's essentially me is Pnimius. I don't forget that.
Yeah. That's
I can forget maybe that you like pizza. I can't forget that I like pizza. Pnimius, you don't forget. The whole idea of forgetfulness comes from Chitzonius. And that's why David's punishment was that he forgot, which is Chitzonius. And which mitzvah did he forget? That mitzvah which is connected to also to the Pnimius of the Torah, and how we see now when you learn a little Chassidus, that which in Nigla seems to be a story, it doesn't seem, it's hard to put together. Once you understand the inside story, how everything comes together. Shabbos, everyone.